Welcome back to the Demon Slayer Gaming Channel. We're going to be continuing our Let's Play series through Dragon Age Origins. Just finished up the Circle Tower, so we're going to be picking up inside of our camp here. And I believe this episode is going to be another one that's like purely just talking to people. So, to facilitate that to begin with, I did look up, and the Painted Skyball is kind of a universal gift. So it's really just like whoever I want to give it to, it'd give a little bonus to any of them. So Liliana's already maxed out. Shale is doing quite well. So is Winnie, Morgan, and Sten. Alistair. Sten's looking kind of on the low side. Zevran's doing good also. So I don't know if it's better to actually max out someone, but I feel like there's so many more gifts that we have yet to get that we can give to them that it's maybe not a good thing to do that. I think I'm gonna pick someone like Sten who has the lowest, right? Morgan was pretty low also, but I think Sten's the lowest, and we're just gonna give it to him.
Thanks.
Which that was a very low increase. It was supposed to be a +5 to anyone, but I guess it is what it is. So go ahead and start off over here. We'll work our way around. So Doggo.
Your dog is filthy. I can smell him 50 yards off.
Good. He will fell our enemies with his stench.
That may be so, but all the same, I would like your permission to bathe him.
He's a warhound, not some pampered, empowered lapdog.
I suppose that's true. Just make him sleep over on the other side of the camp, with Alistair. With any luck, that will keep all the stench confined to one small area.
Inconspicuous is not right in front of me. Okay, so there's nothing for Doggo. Where do we want to get started here? Let's just start with Winnie back here.
It's been a long day. Rest would be welcome.
Yes, you should get some rest.
Yes, of course. I am just a little weary. As you may have noticed, I'm no spring chicken.
You were very sprightly for your age, though.
Thank you. You're very kind to say so. But in all honesty, I do not know how many years I have left in me. I have lived for such a long time. But there is always something else to do. And I have to keep going in order to do it. I think I will be glad when I am done.
Hey, don't say those things. We still need you.
Oh, no. I'm not the sort of person that leaves things unfinished. I'll see this through, I promise. Have you encountered many abominations, apart from the ones in the Circle Tower?
Why do you ask?
You are younger than I, and your nerves yet have some steel in them. Did you feel any fear facing the abominations?
Some, but I knew I could not falter.
The first time I saw an abomination, my blood turned to ice. It was months before the nightmares stopped. It was the knowledge that I could easily become one of them that frightened me the most.
are a great mage, you would never become an abomination.
Every mage is vulnerable, no matter how accomplished or powerful. That is the first thing we learn, and overconfidence can lead to recklessness. One slip. All it takes is one slip, and everything you are is simply gone, replaced by madness. And there is no turning back, or at least that's what they say.
You have doubts?
Of late, I have begun to wonder if there is any way an abomination can be cured. Or if a mage could be so possessed and still retain their sanity, their humanity.
Why do you care so much about this anyways?
Because every mage lives with this threat. It is constantly on our minds. Do not trouble yourself, though. This is only an old lady giving voice to her musings. Irving told me about how you became a Grey Warden, and that unpleasant incident that occurred prior to your departure from the Circle.
Still wish it hadn't turned out the way it did.
That's not something either of us can alter, so it is best to put it behind you. But that aside, you're a Grey Warden now, and perhaps I presume too much by saying this, but the Circle is proud of you.
I wonder what Irving saw in me that made him recommend me.
Do not squander this time trying to explain why Irving picked you. Accept it, and be the Grey Warden you're supposed to be. Sometimes it gives me comfort to think that everything will end up the way it's supposed to. That it will be all right. You were chosen. You survived the joining when others did not. Perhaps it was meant to be. I must ask, what does being a Grey Warden mean to you?
Means I've been chosen to do something important.
There's that, of course. But there's more to being a Grey Warden than killing Darkspawn and saving the world from the Blight. Ultimately, being a Grey Warden is about serving others. About serving all people, whether elves or dwarves or men.
You mean to say I serve as a protector?
As a Grey Warden, you are a guardian of men, and you guard them because their continued existence is more important than you are. Thus it is you who serves, not they.
I will keep that in mind.
A good king, a true king who cares for his land, uses his power to rule firmly but fairly. He serves his people first and foremost. The king who does not do this, who believes that he is entitled to his power, who abuses it and uses it for his own means, is a tyrant.
I don't want power. I never wanted it.
If you live apart from others, and your actions affect only you, then you may do as you wish. But if you have power, influence, and strength, your every action will be as a drop of water in a clear, still pond. The drop causes ripples, and ripples spread.
That tent's got a hole in it.
How they will go, how wide they will become, how will they affect the pond. But I've lectured enough for today. I should stop before I wear out my welcome.
Keep getting approval for her. I like it. Almost maxing herself out. She's at 86.
You're quite taken with each other, aren't you?
Yes, quite.
I've noticed your blossoming relationship, and I wanted to ask you where you thought it was going. Leliana is a remarkable girl, sincere and guileless, and she has opened her heart to you. I would not like to see her hurt.
I'd never hurt Liliana.
Not intentionally, no. But there is great potential for tragedy here, for one or both of you. You are a Grey Warden. You have responsibilities which supersede your personal desires.
I can handle my responsibilities and my relationships.
Love is ultimately selfish. It demands that one be devoted to a single person who may fully occupy one's mind and heart to the exclusion of all else. A Grey Warden cannot afford to be selfish. You may be forced to make a choice between saving your love and saving everyone else. And then what would you do?
I don't want to have to make that choice.
Nothing is certain. Not in these times. You cannot take anything for granted. I want you to be aware of this.
Liliana and I can handle whatever comes our way.
If you insist, I have given my advice. Do with it what you will.
Okay, no plus but no
What's on your
negative.
mind?
Are you feeling better now?
Oh, yes, and thank you for asking. I'm feeling much better today.
I suppose you were just tired then, like you said.
I suppose I must be. What's on your mind?
Just thinking about being a Grey Warden.
Is something troubling you?
Sometimes I wish I could go back to my old life. No, I think it was the best thing that happened to me.
You are one of the 2 surviving Grey Wardens in Ferelden. You defend all of us, and much rests on your shoulders. It may not mean much to you, but thank you for having the courage to continue to fight.
I will be ready when the time comes. Or I don't give up easily.
And that gives me hope. Have you heard much about the Grey Wardens of old?
I know they were more respected in the old days.
It was said that watching the Wardens ride in on their white griffins was enough to rouse a weary heart and put the dance back in the step of an old man. The Grey Wardens were powerful, feared and respected, but they also inspired the common people. I remember a tale that was told to me many years ago.
Go on.
The Blight had ravaged the land for months, and the armies of the great kings had amassed for one last stand. As the sun burst through the clouds that boiled and churned in the dark sky above, it illuminated a vast, seething horde of darkspawn, with the archdemon at its head. And it was then, when courage seemed to fail, and all lost to death and despair, that the Grey Wardens came. They arrived with the beating of wings like mighty war drums, and stood before the armies of men.
And what happened then?
The Grey Wardens, grim and fearless, marched forth, ever between the men and the encroaching darkspawn. They formed a shield of their own bodies and held that line until the archdemon was dead, and the last darkspawn lay trampled in the dirt. And then, demanding neither reward nor recognition for their sacrifice, the Grey Wardens departed. When the clouds finally rolled back, and the sun shone full upon the blighted ground, the great kings knew that they had lost no men, and none of their blood had been spilled.
When did this happen?
This is a tale about no battle the Grey Wardens have fought, and yet about them all. They have always defended us from the Darkspawn, taking losses so we do not have to. People may have forgotten over the centuries, but nothing has changed. This knowledge has been blessing and burden to Grey Wardens past, and now it shall be your blessing and your burden.
Massive willpower.
What's on your mind?
As a Grey Warden, I'll never lead a normal life, will I?
No, you won't.
But I don't think I was ever meant to be normal.
I don't think so either. You would not have been happy living a dull, uneventful life, dying in obscurity. You wonder sometimes, don't you? If your life would be better if you weren't who you are.
No, I like my life.
I didn't. Not for a long time. When I was a young woman in the tower, I came to the realization that the circle would be my life, and I would know no other. Family, love, a simple life. These were things that others took for granted, that I would never have.
I don't think you're missing out.
It made me very moody. All I could think of was being trapped in that tower with no way out and no end in sight. I started hating my life and myself, and one night I found myself in the tower's chapel. I was seeking refuge, maybe answers.
Did you find anything?
I must have looked tearful or made some noise, because the revered mother came out and decided to speak to me. And because I had no one else to talk to, I talked to her. I must have said many silly things, but she told me that the Maker puts us all on our paths for a reason, and fighting our intended course is what causes so much anguish.
That made you feel better?
I thought the old biddy was full of rubbish. I was 15, maybe 16, and I knew everything. So I left, but I always found my way back to that chapel. And as the years passed, I began to see the truth of her words. We were supposed to be polar opposites, mage and priest. But we weren't. There was much about us that was the same.
Suppose priests have to give up a lot too.
The revered mother had lived in the chantry all her life, as I had been in the tower for all of mine. She taught me that you can find your family in the people around you, that you can love your work and find fulfillment in duty. And there is joy even in self-sacrifice. If you put others before yourself, then their well-being is yours, and their happiness is your happiness.
It won't be easy to live that way.
You can scream and cry and be angry about life as a Grey Warden, or you can accept it and allow yourself to see the good in it. This is your choice. What's on your mind?
I'd like to ask something about the circle.
I will answer to the best of my ability.
Why didn't you want to stay at the tower?
The circle is in good hands. Irving knows what to do, and he doesn't need me underfoot. For now, I will support those that battle the Darkspawn. I do feel I left things unfinished in Ostagar. There is so much left to do, and I would be part of it.
But you left the children. I am glad for your company.
The Grey Wardens, all 2 of you, need all the help
All
you
2 of us.
I will see this through to the bitter end, and after that, if I am still left standing, then I will return to the circle.
I'm sure you'll be able to return if you so choose.
Perhaps.
Ooh, she's maxed out on that willpower. That 93.
What's on your mind? I will answer to the best of my ability.
How did you become a mage?
People don't become mages. They are born mages. The talent just surfaces later. But you are asking how I ended up at the Circle. I was brought there by the Templars, just like many of the other apprentices. I don't remember very much. I was very young then.
What about your family?
I didn't have a family. I never knew my real parents. My earliest memory was of hiding in a hayloft on a farm, trying to keep warm. I was found, and the farmer's wife was kind enough not to send me away. But they had children of their own, and I was never made to feel welcome. The eldest son was the worst. He was always calling me a stray, and throwing anything he could get his hands on at me. And I don't know how it happened, but one day, he just found his hair on fire. Fortunately, there was a large trough nearby.
Was he seriously hurt?
I had singed his hair and eyebrows, but injured little other than his pride. Who knows what they would have done to me had he been more seriously hurt. Thankfully, all I had to endure was a few nights locked in a cold barn with a bowl of water and a crust of bread. The Templars arrived several mornings later.
Were the Templars mean to you?
One of them ignored me, but the other was kind to me. He gave me sweets and even sat me on his shoulders once when I wanted to look over a high wall that ran along the road. I'll never forget the moment the Templars led me into the entrance hall of the tower. I had never seen anything so grand in my life. I stopped being afraid then. I knew I was home.
Felt the same way when I came to the tower.
We were the lucky ones. I learned very quickly that for every apprentice in the tower, there was probably one who never even lived to see the Templars come. No child, not even a mage child, is a match for an angry mob trying to place blame for a failed crop, a hard winter, a baby born dead.
That's terrible and sad.
Superstition and fear is what makes these people behave in this manner. It will be a good long time before that changes. Well, that's about all there is to my tale. That's how I came to the Circle.
It's been a while since I left the tower.
It has been almost a year, hasn't it? Do you miss the tower at all?
Yes, it was my home for so long.
You can take a mage out of the Circle, but you can't take the Circle out of the mage. Or so Irving used to say. He was joking, but there is some truth to the statement. A mage never really leaves the Circle, and for the rest of your life you will be seen as a Circle mage.
I am proud to be a mage of the Circle.
Yes, even though you are a Grey Warden now, you are a mage, and always will be, especially in the eyes of others. You represent both mages and Grey Wardens, and your actions may reflect well or badly on both groups. Remember that.
I will try. Thank you for the advice.
Oh, but listen to me go on. You start a conversation, and I just run away with it, don't I?
I'm glad you take the time to console me.
I've been mentoring apprentices for so long, it's become something I do unconsciously. I don't know if I could stop even if I wanted to. What's on your mind? I will answer to the best of my ability.
Should almost be done. Yeah, that's everything for her. So she improved by another 6. So 99. Yeah, she's almost maxed. Woo! Good stuff. Alright, let's talk to our love.
I'm here for you.
I'm here for you too. We need to talk.
Of course.
What will you do when this is all over?
I have not given this a lot of thought. What will I do? We've traveled far and wide. Does it need to end?
It's so wonderful to hear you say that.
There's so much out there. Adventures to be had and stories to be told. I want to be part of it all. I might need some company. And you're not too irritating. You're welcome to come along if you like.
When you put it that way, how can I say no? I would love to.
It is settled then. You and I wandering the world, seeking our fortunes. I can't wait. I'm here for you. Of course.
About us.
Wait, you want to talk about us? Is there something bothering you?
You are the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Really? You think so? You're so sweet. I'm here for you.
Alright, nothing else. Alright, made it to Alistair.
What do you need?
I'd like to ask you something.
Ask away.
Can you teach others to be a Templar?
I already said I wouldn't. The answer is still no.
Oh,
What do you need?
sorry.
Ask away.
Can you tell me about the Grey Wardens?
Such as they are.
Okay.
About the Grey Wardens, anyhow. Fair enough. What do you need?
I think we're done with him. Sten,
Yes,
what were you doing in that cage?
sitting, as you observed.
That's not what I meant.
It's what you asked.
Are you going to answer my question?
I did. Parshera, was there anything else?
I want to discuss something you mentioned.
Speak, then.
Nope.
Then I suggest we move on.
I have a question.
I am hardly surprised.
Why did you come to Ferelden?
To answer a question,
What was the question?
the Arishok asked what is the Blight. By his curiosity, I am now here.
Don't you have to report back then?
Yes,
When are you going to do that?
never. I cannot go home.
Well, you can stay with us.
Thank you. Can we move on? We keep the Darkspawn waiting. Speak, then. Then I suggest we move on.
Okay.
As you wish.
Jesus. We just get a ton of approval from him.
You are not quite as callow as I thought. That is unexpected.
Callow? You thought I was callow?
You sound surprised. You must have heard this before. You'll get over it. Eventually.
You'll get over it. So will you tell me now why you were caged?
I caged myself. A weak mind is a deadly foe, as you are no doubt aware.
Exactly what happened.
I told you before that I was sent here. I was not sent alone. I came to your lands with 7 of the Beresad, my brothers, to seek answers about the Blight. We made our way across the Ferelden countryside without incident, seeing nothing of the threat we were sent to observe. Until the night we camped by Lake Calenhad. They came from everywhere. The earth beneath our feet, the air above us. Our own shadows harbored the Darkspawn. I saw the last of the creatures cut down, too late. I fell.
What happened to the other Kunari?
I am told no others survived. I don't know how long I lay on the battlefield among the dead, nor do I know how the farmers found me. I only know that when I woke I was no longer among my brothers, and my sword was gone from my hand.
Probably dropped it on the battlefield.
Perhaps. I searched for it, and when that failed I asked my rescuers what had become of it.
Did the farmers know where it was?
They said they found me with nothing.
And then?
I killed them. With my bare hands. I did. I knew they didn't have the blade. They had no reason to lie to me. I panicked. Unthinking, I struck them down.
Panicked over a lost blade?
That sword was made for my hand alone. I have carried it from the day I was set into the Beresad. I was to die wielding it for my people. Even if I could cross Ferelden and Tevinter unarmed and alone to bring my report to the Arashok, I would be slain on sight by the Antam. They would know me as soulless, a deserter. No soldier would cast aside his blade while he drew breath.
Didn't you search for it?
If I knew where to look, it would be in my hand now.
Where did you fight the Darkspawn?
Near Lake Callanhad.
Don't worry, we'll find it.
Perhaps those words are empty, but thank you all the same.
Aha! That's why you gotta talk to everyone. I have a question.
I am hardly surprised.
Do you find Ferelden very strange?
To put it lightly, no one has a place here. Your farmers wish to be merchants. The merchants dream of being nobles, and the nobles become warriors. No one is content to be who they are.
Is there anything you like about Ferelden?
There is interesting food here. You have a thing. It doesn't have a word in the Kunari tongue. Little baked things like bread, but sweet and crumbly.
Cookies?
Yes, we have no such things in our lands. This should be remedied.
I'll keep that in mind.
Shall we move on?
Don't the Kunari ever want to change their lot in life?
What does that accomplish? The farmer who buys a shop is never a merchant. He is always a farmer turned merchant. He carries his old life with him as a turtle carries its shell.
But that makes the turtle stronger.
Does it? It's also his weakness. If he stumbles and falls over, it pins him on his back. It is better to armor yourself with no more than what you need. One life, one duty.
Duty can be forgotten. You don't think happiness is important?
You can learn to find it in doing your duty, in serving your people. There is no need to search for it. Shall we move on?
Sound a bit homesick.
Perhaps. It's strange to be in a crowd and hear a language that is not your own, to see faces that are and aren't like yours. I miss the smells of Saharon, tea and incense and the sea. Ferelden smells of wet dogs.
You left out rotting garbage.
True. I was trying to forget that part. Shall we move on? As you wish.
Alright, Sten's approval is getting up there. Like it. Shell.
I've watched a lot of humans in my time. It should be aware that I've decided that it is not much like any of them.
That could be good or bad.
Good, of course. It doesn't want to have anything in common with all those other filthy substandard human types, does it? Surely it must come from some superior lineage, yes? Some breed of flesh creature that has decided to elevate its genetic stock above its natural shortcomings?
Some breed of flesh creature? Well, I am a mage, as well as an elf.
Then that must be it. The humans have always spoken about elves being inferior, but obviously this is their own stupidity talking.
Obviously.
I would appreciate if it didn't spread around that I said anything. Humans might start to get the wrong idea. They might start thinking their race is not completely hopeless.
And we wouldn't want that.
Indeed. Can it imagine the horror? Oh. Now, let us crush something into a fine paste. before it starts to think I've gone all soft. Perish the thought.
Oh, Shale.
It speaks.
It does speak. I would have expected golems to be different.
Different? Different than what? Different than a statue? Different than a log? Should I talk in a monotone? Yes, master, I exist to serve the master. I shall kill for the master and only for the master. Perhaps it expected me to have a booming voice. Recite limericks. I can recite limericks, if it likes.
Are they dirty limericks?
Mostly they involve slaughtering pigeons in creative and invasive manners. I have never met another golem. I have no idea what one might be like, or why I wouldn't be like them. Why? Has it met other golems? Did they not sound as I do?
Being different isn't so bad.
Did I say it was bad? Huh. It thinks I hang on its every word, waiting for approval. I don't know what other golems might be like, but I am already superior by virtue of my free will. This is a good thing.
I agree. Being a golem would be handy.
Imagine the benefits. No need to eat or sleep or perform other functions. Walk underwater, crush the heads of every opponent. The possibilities are limitless. Barring the occasional 30 years or so of paralysis, there's little to compare. Now stop talking so much. The wagging of its moist little tongue is distracting.
Nice. Even more bonus for Shale. I think that maxes him out. Oh no, he's still got a ways to go. 86. Getting up there though. Man, all that talking from Sten really got his approval up.
It speaks.
You're still with me, I see.
Yes, its adventures are interesting, even if the chances for success are remarkably slim. It would be better to throw oneself off a cliff, I suspect. Does it wish me to leave? I can, though I see no reason to go.
No, stay. You're quite helpful.
No doubt. Without me, it would have to carry its inventory on its own. Perhaps we should continue. Its chances of success are small enough without further dawdling. It speaks.
I have some questions.
It doesn't have better things to do.
Are those crystals in your skin?
I like to think of them as accessories.
Do all golems have them?
I suspect that it is an art that was practiced when golems were more, commonplace. My former master collected whatever lore he could find on the subject. He searched far and wide to collect what crystals he could and then added them. It is not an unpleasant sensation.
It's a dwarven thing, then.
So I would assume. My former master enjoyed poking around the ruins in the deep roads after all, and bartering with others who did. As I understand it, the crystals allow me to alter the flow of magic around me. Wilhelm had hoped to turn me into a battery of mana, something he could tap at will.
But they can do other things too?
Some of the crystals increase the presence of mana, some absorb or reflect spells. There are various kinds. All I can promise is that should it ever find one of these crystals, I can likely tell it the function and what it would do if added to me.
Would you be willing to have more added?
Why not? I don't get to wear clothing and other adornments like the rest of you creatures after all. That answers its question, I assume? Unless it has more.
How did you end up in Honleith? Do you remember?
Oh yes, that I remember quite well. My former master, the mage Wilhelm, he brought me. As I recall, he had acquired some position with whatever lord ruled the land. I, being little more than a glorified possession at the time, was brought along. Oh, how he enjoyed impressing the villagers with me. Gollum snarl at that villager there, be fearsome. And of course, I would have to do it.
You didn't like this, Wilhelm, I take it?
He did love using that control rod. Fondled it so much, his wife actually threatened to throw it in the lake. Ha! I would have liked to have seen that. Which reminds me, where did it find the rod? Did it pay a great deal for it?
Wilhelm's wife sold it, I believe.
Hag.
I would have thought you'd enjoy scaring humans.
I'd have happily stomped them all into paste, and then ripped down their little houses and stomped on them, too. In fact, after 30 years of watching them, I'd do it twice. What I didn't like was being ordered to do it. Dangled in front of those frightened morons like some scary thing. Once I was a statue, it took those villagers years before they'd even approach me. The first one to actually work up the nerve to touch me urinated himself. Ugh.
But why were you out in front of the tower?
That is where Wilhelm kept me. He wanted me out in the open where I could be frightening like a scarecrow. I was supposed to watch for thieves. Pah! Plus, his wife didn't want me indoors. She said there wasn't room for me. Hag.
Hag. His wife?
I was once larger, 10 feet tall. Then the loathsome hag complained that I couldn't fit through the doors. So the mage had me shrunk down. Can it believe it? And she still wanted me out.
How does someone shrink a golem?
With a chisel. And a lot of nerve.
Do you remember anything before Honleith?
I traveled with the mage. He did a lot of traveling, I remember that. But where we went, it is rather fuzzy. I remember great battles, fighting many humans long ago. They were all very soft and squishy. And before that, No, there are only images. I was somewhere dark.
How old are you exactly?
I have no idea. Wilhelm used to brag that the dwarves stopped making golems centuries ago. I do not age as you soft creatures do. Sadly, my memory is no better. Plus, I get bored and stop paying attention.
Interesting. I'm done asking about that.
Good. I was just about done talking about it. It does like to have a good chat now and again, doesn't it?
Massive strength.
It speaks.
I
It doesn't have better things to do.
told you killed your former master.
Did I not already tell it that I do not remember doing such? I remember having a master. My memories of what happened to him are vague.
Vague, but not non-existent.
Clever and true. Oh, very well. Let me see what I can recall. My former master enjoyed experimenting upon me. I remember that much. There was tinkering with spells, and then the crystals. He was very eager to alter my function, I think.
What sort of experiments? Or alter you? Why? You're fine as you are.
Flattery, and obvious flattery, too. I feel warm and fuzzy inside. He possessed my control rod, and back then, it would have prevented me from doing anything he did not command me to, no matter how I might have wished to. So what happened? I am unsure. He was experimenting, and then nothing.
You sure? Nothing at all?
There was pain. I do not feel it as soft creatures do, so the memory is an odd one. And then he was gone. I was standing where I was, in the village, and I could no longer move. The villagers came, poked and prodded me in fear, and then realized they could neither move me nor destroy me, so they simply left me. And in time, I forgot I hadn't stood there all along.
You didn't wonder where he'd gone?
Wonder? I was glad that he was gone. For so many years, I'd had to leap to that little toadstool's every command. Get this, pick up that, put it down, pick it up again. The gall! At first, I'd hoped he'd simply decided to leave me there paralyzed. An acceptable trade-off. After years passed, I simply stopped caring.
Maybe it has something to do with your crystals.
Possibly. Except that he was not experimenting with the crystals at the time, I think. But my memory is not good. It may be correct. Whatever the mage did seemed to render the control rod useless, for which I should be thankful, yes? And provided it doesn't decide to copy his experiments, not that I would allow it, it is nothing to fear from me. Much.
Sounds good to me.
The things that it fights, and it fights things often, that is a different story. Let us get back to the walking and the fighting. My stone is beginning to itch again.
That's kind of the one, Markall is red. The one bad thing about having shale is that you leave behind so many possible skills.
It speaks. It doesn't have better things to do.
You watched that village day and night for years?
I do not sleep, so yes, and I thank it for reminding me. Try to imagine, if it will, what it would be like to be surrounded by nothing but boring peasants, all oblivious to it.
Yes, that would be rather horrid.
And then there were the birds. A whole village full of pigeons and ravens and sparrows all perching on me day in and day out.
That's why he hates pigeons so much? Ah, yes, your bird thing.
It is not a thing. It is a perfectly reasonable reaction to being constantly pestered. I was helpless to react. Those foolish villagers would spread birdseed near me, drawing the birds, because they thought having birds perch on me was quaint. Quaint! If there hadn't been the occasional kind soul to scour me clean, I don't care to discuss this anymore.
I'm surprised I didn't lose approval there.
It speaks. It doesn't have better things to do.
How did Wilhelm come to acquire you?
That part I know, as Wilhelm often bragged about it to whomever was willing to listen to him. He claimed to have found me in the deep roads. I was in the ruins of a Tig, he said, deactivated, with my control rod not far away.
You don't know why you were there?
I think I remember a battle. It was long before, and then there was darkness. Bah, in short, no, I do not remember why I was there. It makes no difference.
What was Wilhelm doing in the deep roads?
It was a hobby of his, scavenging. One of the reasons he traveled so much is that he was looking for entrances into the deep roads, old places the dwarves had long forgotten. And then he would sneak down and search for magical treasure, before anyone was the wiser.
Wouldn't that have been dangerous?
Indeed. He had spells that allowed him to remain hidden and move quickly, but he had no defense against the blight, and worried constantly that he would get sick. If any darkspawn showed themselves, he fled. More often, he would have to fight other scavengers, dwarfs who had become tainted. In the end, it killed him. I mean, he found me there, right?
So if he hadn't found you?
I wouldn't have had to put up with the twit, and I would be none the wiser. I don't think I was aware while I was there. Not like in the village. Or perhaps I was. Perhaps that was the dark place, and I simply couldn't see anything. How long could even I sit in the darkness and stare out at nothing, never sleeping? Oh, I do not wish to think of that.
Do you know where in the deep roads this was?
No. That secretive bastard refused to tell me. I would ask and ask, but no. He used to say that one day, if I were compliant and didn't talk back at his wife, he would take me there and I could look around myself. Rotten, lying bastard. If I had his head in my hands now, I would squeeze it like a giant lemon. Squish.
Let's move on.
On then. It speaks. It doesn't have better things to do.
You don't seem to like humans much.
That is true. I do not. I'm not interested in getting into a discussion on the subject, however. Ask another time. If it is done asking overly obvious questions, let us find some humans to throw off a cliff or something. It speaks. Its journeys are fascinating. I had thought its chances slim, but perhaps I'm even wrong on that point. Does it wish me to leave? I can, though I see no reason to go.
No, stay. You're quite helpful.
No. Perhaps we should continue.
Okay. I think we maxed out Shale here. Let's see if our coercion is enough to get them to talk.
Sure, either my boy or I can help you out.
What's your story exactly?
Well, if you're really interested, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to tell you. I am originally from Orzammar, the famed dwarven city that lies beneath the stately Frostback Mountains. I was a merchant there, too. Merchant caste. These things are in the blood, you know. You can't just leave them behind. I ran a fairly successful business. Rare artifacts, you know. Old things, grand things. The nobles loved them. Reminded them of the lost glory days, I suppose.
Why did you leave?
One day, a noble woman came to my store. She looked around for a bit and then started shrieking in dismay. Apparently, she believed that a pair of bracers I had for sale once belonged to her brother. He'd been lost in a cave-in, you see, while on an expedition to clear out the Darkspawn from one of the tunnels running close to the city. They were made specially for him. They're unique, she shrieked. He stole them from my poor brother's corpse. She had me arrested on the spot, of course. Nobles, they're touchy like that.
What happened then?
Well, I didn't steal them. You see, I'd been paying these castless thugs to venture out into the deep roads for me. The lost tides. They're full of things that people left behind. Sometimes you can find a treasure. Something worth a little gold.
Better to do something with them and leave them to rot.
That's exactly how I see it. The noblewoman, she wasn't too happy with the theft of her brother's bracers. I don't know what they planned for me, and I didn't want to find out. Bribed the guard that was watching me and took off for the surface first opportunity I got. Never looked back.
Fascinating story. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Now, is there anything the boy or I can get you?
But we're... Okay. Have you heard any rumors?
The Darkspawn have attacked Lothering. I don't think everyone even had fled by the time they came, either. Word has it they swarmed the entire area, making off with prisoners and burning down the buildings, and then they were gone. Just as quick. I wonder if there's anyone left. I heard some chanters were going to head down south, maybe to try to find some survivors. I'm not holding out hope myself. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is.
Any other rumors?
There's terrible news. Everyone is talking about a battle in the north between Loghain's men and Ban Bronik. The Ban was utterly crushed. Someone told me that he was meeting with Loghain to talk terms, but I don't believe it. Surely Loghain would never attack someone attempting to parley. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is.
Any other rumors?
Earl Wolf has gone to Denerim to plead his case with Tyrn Loghain, I hear. West Hills has been hit hard by the Darkspawn, and Wolf wants the fighting over the throne to stop. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is.
Any other rumors?
I heard from some travelers that something bad might have happened in Redcliffe, overrun by Darkspawn, maybe. There's no word from the village at all. Merchant friend of mine said he encountered someone fleeing the place and there was nothing waiting for him there but death. He wisely turned around and came right back. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is.
Any other rumors?
Tyrn Loghain has announced that whatever happened to Ban Bronik will happen to any other nobleman who doesn't live up to the oath he swore to serve the throne. There's a lot of folks angry about it. Some of the Banorn who weren't saying anything are now saying that Loghain is trampling on their rights as sovereign lords. Seems like more fighting is inevitable at this point, doesn't it? Sad state of affairs. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it for what it is.
Where do these goods come from? Not the deep roads.
Look, we don't rob people, all right? We don't take things from people that need them. The things in the Lost Tigers, what good did they do lying there? I brought them back to Orzammar, where people could look at them and remember. It's not all that different up here. There are places long abandoned by the humans everywhere. Even more now with the Darkspawn coming.
What do you mean?
People flee from the Blight with good reason, but they forget things. Things with value and meaning. They leave them behind because they're frightened and desperate. And sometimes, my boy and I, we find our way to these places before the Horde descends, and we save these things. I take them away so the Darkspawn don't get them. Is that so bad? They destroy everything they touch.
Suppose it's better than having the Darkspawn take it all.
That's what I tell myself, too. Ah, these are dark times indeed. Dark times, my friend.
You didn't mention your son in your tale.
Ah, yes. I'm married to a fine woman back in Denerim, it's true. She'd give me a son if she could, but that's not likely to ever be. Sandal here. I found him in the deep roads years ago. Abandoned, I think, and he was never quite right in the head. I took him in, and I brought him with me when I came here to the surface. He may not be my blood, true, but I think of him as one.
We left Orzammar.
That's right, boy. Maybe one day we'll see it again.
That was generous of you.
It's not as if I don't benefit, mind you. Turns out the boy's a natural working with enchantments. He might have even been lyrium-addled. I never thought of that before, to be honest. Happens sometimes. He can work an enchantment into just about anything, however, given some time. Could probably open his own shop, if he knew how.
Enchantment.
Well, he does seem to enjoy it, at least.
Alright.
Of course. Good fortune to you and yours.
Goodbye.
Alright, and last but not least,
I await your command.
the life in the wilds must have been very lonely.
At times, perhaps. A world full of people and buildings and things was all very foreign to me. If I wished companionship, I ran with the wolves and flew with the birds. If I spoke, 'twas to the trees.
Sounds wonderful.
For a time, but one can only remain a child for so long. I recall the first time I crept beyond the edge of the wilds. I did so in animal form, remaining in the shadows and watching these strange townsfolk from afar. I happened upon a noblewoman by her carriage, adorned in sparkling garments the likes of which I had never before seen. I was dazzled. This, to me, seemed what true wealth and beauty must be. I snuck up behind her and stole a hand mirror from the carriage. It was encrusted in gold and crystalline gemstones, and I hugged it to my chest with delight as I sped back to the wilds.
Can't imagine Flemeth was pleased.
She was not. Flemeth was furious with me. I was a child and had not yet come into my full power, and I had risked discovery for the sake of a pretty bauble. To teach me a lesson, Flemeth took the mirror and smashed it upon the ground. I was heartbroken.
But you were just a child.
And a foolish one. Flemeth was right to break me of my fascination. Beauty and love are fleeting and have no meaning. Survival has meaning. Power has meaning. Without those lessons, I would not be here today, as difficult as they might have been.
But they made you stronger, didn't they?
They did indeed. To return to your original question, perhaps my time in the wilds was indeed lonely, but such was how it had to be. I find myself at times wondering what might have become of the girl with the beautiful golden mirror, but such fantasies have no place amidst reality. I await your command.
I'd like to ask you something.
So, full of questions, are you?
You teach others to become shape changers.
Possibly, if I had the desire to. I do not.
He says. As you wish.
I await your command.
I'd like to discuss something
We're
personal.
in camp, so 'tis as good a time as any.
I think that is it. We're all caught up. Now, is there something that I feel like would be quick? Let's see if we can go grab Sten's sword real quick.
Yes.
Indeed.
It didn't open up a spot on the map to do that. So what I think I'm actually going to do next is probably head over to Redcliffe. And that means I want to take Alistair out. So before we do leave camp, I just realized that Sten hasn't leveled up yet, so let's go ahead and do that. Increasing that strength even more. Stunning blows sounds good. Anyone else needs to level up? Probably Morrigan. Alistair. Oh, he's got a lot of leveling up to do. Salts. And probably bravery. Then has no specialization yet. Level up the hound. The same thing, bringing Shale is the same difficulty as bringing Doggo. The no skills is pretty bad. Assassin. dexterity, and he's gonna need more cunning. Go with whirlwind. Sounds good. Alright, looks like everyone's topped up. Okay, I think this is probably a good spot to stop for this episode. We'll pick up next time getting into another one of the longer quests. We either go to Ozamar or into Redcliffe, one of those two. But I hope everyone's enjoying the playthrough of Dragon Age Origins. If you are, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I will catch you on the next one.